President, Eric Henry. We, the Solid State brand manager, Courtney Lockmer, and our strategist, our brand strategist, Miss Rosalinda Cruz. So our 10,000 pounds of cotton project was created to transfer power to U.S. cotton farmers and to you as conscious consumers and makers and supply chain experts. We're asking you to help us rebuild the American cotton supply chain sustainably and regeneratively. We're asking you to be investors in an exciting future where we all create better soil, fair wage jobs, and stronger local economies. With 75% of US cotton being put on ships and sent overseas to be processed and sewn into clothes, then shipped back to us to, for us to buy as cheaply as possible, we've decided to put a full stop to the madness. And we're keeping our North Carolina cotton here in the Carolinas, or there, because I'm not in North Carolina, where we'll be making it into t-shirts that are fully traceable and trackable. This series is happening so that you can meet each part of our supply chain, learn more about what each company does, and have the opportunity to ask them questions. So in true TS Designs manner, Eric has decided to pivot this entire talk. So Eric, you just take it from here.
I will do that, Amy. Again, thank you so much, Amy, for kicking us off, and the rest of the team, Courtney and Rosalinda. And thank you for the people that have been on this journey since back in November, and welcome our new guest. As Amy said, I should say, is last year with COVID and the challenge we all faced with, we realized not only that we have a broken apparel system, i.e. most of our apparel was made overseas, but we also had even a bigger problem. We were asking our cotton farmer to plant his cotton under his cost, 25 cents under his cost. So from that idea of a cotton farmer we've been working for over a dozen years, is we want to change the paradigm of how we engage with the cotton farmer. Because without the cotton farmer, this conversation would not exist. TS Designs would not be around. So the purpose of the 10K Cotton Project is a call to action for the brands to meet the farmer before the seed goes in the ground, and making sure the farmer has a seat at the table. The most important person in the conversation with commodity agriculture is left out of the conversation. So last May, we connected with Andrew Burleson and made an agreement with him that you can see on a video. It's all documented. It's all out there in the open. Is we agreed to pay him the price that he wanted for the cotton back in May when that seed was going in the ground. Since that time, that cotton has been harvested, has been ginned, has been spun. So one thing that we've found out even before COVID is change starts with education. And what we want to do is bring you into our supply chain, let you meet the people, as we described, from dirt to shirt, that farmer all the way to the consumer, and let you be a part of this journey. And this is our fourth stop. Back in November, we started with Andrew Burleson in New London, North Carolina, cotton farmer. And from that, we met Wes, the gin, also in New London, North Carolina. Last month in January, we were down in South Carolina with Andy Long at Spun Lab. And today we're at Contempora in Lumberton, North Carolina, the knitting process, because there's a lot that happens in that journey from dirt to shirt. So we want to take you along that journey and meet the people. And we believe transparency starts with just, this is who we are. This is what we do. I'm not saying it's the right way, the perfect way, the only way, but there are no questions. You never have to be concerned about who was involved in making the product. So I want to thank those people that participate in the, as I say, the retail, the consumer side through Solid State of the 10K project. We sold over 2,000 shirts. I think we closed that in December. Now we're changing gears and we're moving to the wholesale side of this, where it'll be roughly about 13,000 shirts will be generated from this. But we're hoping this is the start of something different in the way you as a consumer and the brands are also joining us to engage with the farmer, to engage with supply chain, and not only make it here in the USA, but be a part of that supply chain and understand that people are. So we're super excited about being in Lumberton today. And as I said, we're switching things up a little bit today, and Alex will be coming on screen in a minute, is that we are being very conscious of the COVID environment that we're in. And so last month we did the 2 people with masks and stuff, and it was a little muddled and confusing. So I asked Alex earlier if he is off camera here, is when he comes on, well, he does mind being in this environment without a mask, and I'll step off screen and I'll put my mask back on. So we're very conscious of the environment we're in and super excited the vaccines are coming and getting back to a normal life and business that we've all, are earning for, learning for. So again, thank you so much for joining us today. So are we going to do the video next? And then I'll bring Alex up, or help me out this real quick. What are we doing next?
I'm going to introduce Alex as Alex, as the 2 of you switch. So
okay, well, real quick on that, I'll do that. Again, thank you again, Alex, for being a part today. So we're going to switch seats. Amy's going to talk a little bit more about Alex. I'll be off screen, and I'll jump back in off screen as we do the Q&A. So again, thank you, Amy, and welcome, Alex.
Wish we had some like. Okay. Hey, look at that.
Fairly quick switch.
Alex is. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
All right.
A lot warmer here than it is where you're at.
Yeah. Yes, I would like to be there right now instead of getting glares off of snow. But hey, Alex, so I've written a little bit here about you, but do you want to talk about what you do, or you want me to give my spin on what I think you do?
Well, I can start out with just talking about Contempora just for a second, and then I'll
Yeah.
be glad to answer any questions.
Okay.
Contempora, as Eric mentioned, is a circular knit fabric producer based in Lumberton, North Carolina. We started in 1972, so assuming the pandemic doesn't get any worse, next year will be 50 years for Contempora. And we're excited about having some celebrations next year. Hopefully, we'll be able to do some live celebrations, and many of you may be able to attend. So we're making knit fabrics, both single knit and double knit fabrics, wide range of products, a wide range of fibers, obviously cotton being one of them. And so I just say we're excited to be part of this initiative and participate with Eric and the rest of the team as we try to educate the consumers, the brand, the retailers. One thing that we've always stressed here at Contempora is that the more that we can tell you what we do, how we do it, to make you an educated consumer, the better off it is for both of us. So we welcome you here today to Contempora, and thanks again for letting us participate.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, the other things that I was going to mention, like, I can't believe you guys have 200 machines and a capacity of 2 million pounds per month. That's what I got off your site, that you guys are doing a lot of work there, but we'll be talking about that more, some of the questions that I have. But Courtney has your video all prepped up to share. So Courtney, if you want to share that Contempora video. Courtney, you need to unmute yourself so we can hear it. Huh.
I'm Ron Roach, and this is Contempora Fabrics. Let me introduce you to some of our owners.
Sound's not coming out so good, but.
Contempora solves the apparel industry's need for high-quality knit fabrics. Through mutual trust with our customers, we gain speed in manufacturing and deliver innovative products. Our goal is to be a world-class fabric supplier while improving the lives of our employee owners.
All right. Thanks, Courtney. Looks like, Alex, it looks like you're sitting in the same exact spot as that, as with
The end of the video was filmed in the same room.
yeah. I think you need a couple more people in the room with you right now.
Yep. If it weren't for COVID.
Yeah, right. Well, so I have some questions together for you, but I guess one of the first questions that we've been asking different parts of the supply chain now is, can you talk about what you're doing as part of the 10,000 pounds of cotton project?
Sure. I know last month you were at Parkdale and met with Andy Long, and that's our raw material. Here's a package of yarn from Parkdale. This is 100% cotton yarn that they've spun, and we are converting his yarn into the grage fabric. So this is undyed fabric straight off the knitting machine. This is the cotton jersey fabric that would be used in Eric's t-shirts. So that process, if we could get you out in a plant where you could see the equipment, it would make a lot more sense. But if you envision somebody that's hand crocheting, you've seen them with a latch hook needle, working through the yarn bundle. We're doing that just in mass form. Our knitting machines that we'll be running the fabric on for Eric probably average about 1,800 needles. So if you imagine 1,800 little small latch hook needles, and those needles are taking the yarn and forming loops of fabric just like you do in manual crocheting. And those continuous loops is what forms the fabric itself.
Mm-hmm. And just for, not everybody knows or understands like what a circular knit is, but so that's a circular knit is what you're talking about?
That's correct. The knitting machines are circular, and the needles are around the circumference of the machine. And the more needles are in the machine, the finer the gauge, the finer the appearance of the fabric. And of course, the fewer needles, the coarser it's going to look. And those needles travel up and down a cam track. And as they go up, they will, the hook of the needle will grab the yarn and pull it down. And as it comes down into the machine, there's a latch that closes on the hook, and that yarn casts off. And that's what forms the individual loops of fabric that creates the jersey fabric.
Now, are there benefits from doing from machines like that you have, right? I mean, for making a t-shirt, or is there something with like less waste, or is there any sustainable benefit?
Well, the sustainable benefit for us personally here at Contempora is most of our machines are fairly modern, late model, newer equipment. So speed factors are improved, efficiencies are better off of this equipment. So we're using less energy to produce a pound of fabric. When you start talking about working waste on the machine, obviously there's going to be some working waste as we go through knitting, but we try to minimize that. If it's a very small run, a short run, it may be 3% waste on the yarn. If we get into running several 100,000 pounds of a particular style, it may drop down to almost negligible amounts. But the key for us is having updated machinery. If you go back and look at machines of 20 years ago, they'll make the same exact fabric, but they won't make it as effectively as what we're running today.
Mm-hmm. I'm jumping around, kind of not in the order that I sent you these questions, but I guess I'm going Eric Henry style on you here. So I guess thinking about sustainability and what you're doing, I mean, one of the things I'd written down that you guys were eliminating approximately 80% of your waste containers, but can you talk about some of the, some of the sustainability initiatives that you have there, as well as, I thought one of the things I think is really cool about what you guys are doing is that employee stock ownership plan, so that your employees are more invested.
Yeah, I can touch base on that real quick. We are an ESOP company, which means we're 100% owned by the employees. So it doesn't matter if it's somebody loading a truck, running a knitting machine, working in our offices, they're all stockholders, and they gain stock based on their tenure and how long they've been with the company. And it's free to them. This is something the company gives them. So for our hourly workforce, it functions very much like a retirement plan. When they do retire from the company, we buy the stock back from them, so they're cashed out. They have their nest egg to enjoy in the retirement, and then that stock that we bought back is redistributed amongst the employees that are still with us. So it works out very well for them. It also gives them some incentives. Obviously, our stock is independently evaluated on an annual basis. And if our efficiencies are up, our waste is down, we're doing a great job on quality, it's reflected in our stock price. So our employees are always have that mental mindset that what can I do to make us more effective, to make us more efficient? Because I know at the end of the year, I'm going to see an improvement in my stock. So there's a lot of other factors that go into stock price, obviously, but that is something that they can make an immediate contribution on by, their performance on the job. And as far as what we've done in terms of sustainability within our facility, this probably goes back 15, 20 years ago. We do a lot of business in the outdoor retail market, and that group really got involved with sustainability before it became mainstream with the rest of the country. And so to service that business, we said we need to take the necessary steps and what we can do to be a good steward of the environment. So we, replaced our lighting systems throughout our facility with more efficient lighting to reduce our power consumption. You mentioned our waste going to the landfills. At one time, when I first started with the company, we were probably doing a tractor trailer dumpster pull once a week. And now I dare say it's probably once every 2 months that we have a tractor trailer dumpster pull. Instead, we're recycling anything and everything and reducing waste as much as we can. But I've got some numbers, excuse me. Well, she changed up her order, and I wasn't expecting to have this question this early in the session. So I do have some cheat sheet numbers for you. One of the things that we use a tremendous amount of here are these cardboard tubes. You saw at the package of yard I held up from Parkdale. There's a cardboard tube in the center of it. Well, for years, all these cardboard tubes ended up in the landfill because if you try to ship them to a recycler, you're shipping so much air compared to the cardboard itself. They don't want to pay the freight on shipping air. So it was an initiative by some of our employees out on the floor. They said, we're throwing all these in the trash. Can't we come up with some method of compressing them so that they will be attractive to a recycler? So we spent the money and put in a hydraulic baling system that will actually crush these tubes and into a compact bale. And then we load a truck with that. It's like loading flattened cardboard boxes. So we found an outlet for those tubes that are a cardboard recycler, but that will take them and use them. So if I just throw out some numbers, over the past 17 years, we've recycled 5 million pounds of cardboard tubes. We've recycled right at 2 million pounds of just regular cardboard boxes. And on our plastic, a lot of our yarn comes in this plastic bag. Our plastic, we've recycled 172,000 pounds. So there's a lot of our waste that used to go into the landfill that is definitely going to recyclers today. And if you throw in our fabric waste, we do have some mechanics set up waste when we're setting up a machine, or heaven forbid, we may have a broken needle and have 20 yards of fabric that can't be used because it's got a defect in it. Those are also sold to a recycler, and our cotton waste in terms of fabric is generally ended up in wiper rags. If you go into a big box store and go to the paint department, you'll see the little plastic bags full of small white rags. That's waste from an operation like ours. They take our fabric that we can't sell, and they cut it up into those small pieces, package it, and you're using it to wipe up paint spills. So we try to do our part as much as possible to minimize anything heading to the landfill. And I know we're talking about Cotton Day. Andy last month touched on biodegradable polyester, and that is something for the future, but we're also using recycled poly, and that's made from recycled water bottles. And last year, 2020, I've got the numbers in front of me, we used enough recycled polyester yarn to save 9 million bottles from the landfill. So between our efforts on sustainably grown cotton and the efforts we're doing with recycling our waste from our own facility, and then the use of recycled polyester as opposed to virgin polyester, we're doing a lot. Is there more that we can do? I'm sure, but we're trying our best.
Yeah, well, that's pretty impressive, all of that. I didn't know that you guys were doing that much. That's incredible. And as we all know, in sustainability, it's kind of pick your poison or pick your lane you're going to be in when it comes to what you consider sustainable. So if it is energy efficiency, water efficiency, less waste, carbon footprint, you have those opportunities to make that choice, especially when working with somebody like Contempora. So I know you work with a lot of different brands and lots of large like really large brands, but can you tell me more about, like, are there more people coming to you like of a TS design size that are interested in working with you?
I would say there's not a week goes by that we don't get contacted by a startup, somebody that doesn't have a brand at all today, but they've got a vision. So we hear from those on a weekly basis. And then there are a lot of boutique businesses that don't drive the numbers that a lot of our big customers do. And we always try to accommodate those as much we can. There's some challenges. Obviously, we're set up with large volume production equipment. And sometimes we're able to assist those individuals, and sometimes we may point them in another direction of somebody we think that can help them. But one thing's for certain, we're members of a number of different trade organizations, industry organizations, and if it's something we can't do, we will do our best to point those individuals to a company that can support them. And I'd rather share with them another domestic supplier than them thinking the only way they can get what they need done is by looking offshore. So we do that a lot. But yeah, there are a tremendous amount of small groups that are reaching out to us for help in sourcing smaller quantities. One of the things I've encouraged a few people to do is, especially designers, maybe they don't actually have a brand yet, is to talk with other designers that are in their marketplace to see if they can co-op together where they've got more buying strength rather than, coming out and needing 200 yards of fabric. Maybe they can combine efforts and order full dye lots of fabric. And, that makes it easier for anybody in the supply chain to support them.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And I know, like with Parkdale, they have, well, Spun Lab is the kind of their, I guess, more boutique-y version. And that's what we're working with Spun Lab. So maybe at some point we graduate up, but right now we're with Spun Lab. But with Contempora, are you thinking about, besides having designers or kind of boutiques banding together, are you thinking about having some smaller division to accommodate them?
I don't know that's a difficult question to answer. There are things we can do within our facility without having a spin-off to help accommodate those. I think the challenge is, just to krill up a knitting machine, it takes upwards of 1,000 pounds of yarn just to krill a machine. So you can imagine if somebody wants 100 pounds of fabric, we've gone through the exact same motions to set that machine up for 1,000 pounds as we do for 100 pounds. So we've got to be careful looking at the cost structure and what the implications are. It's more of a challenge to do that in fabric where you're talking about everybody's equipment is set up for large volume runs. Not saying it can't be done. And there's ways for instance, for us, we've got styles that we run every week. There are some continuity in the production. And so if somebody new comes in, we will suggest to them styles that are already in the line and running where we can spin off smaller yardage requirements. If they've got a unique fabric that we're not running today, then that's where the challenges come in, and we may suggest to them another supplier that maybe is running that fabric today so they can get smaller quantities from them. So we try to be as flexible as we can in helping, but who knows what the future holds, and we are looking at several different opportunities right now that I'm not really able to share with you, but who knows what the future holds. We may be in a position to do something different as time comes.
That's awesome. I know we have, what's that?
Amy, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can, Eric.
I want to jump in. One thing that seemed like the chat's not working. Because I want to make sure people can start getting their questions in, and I'm showing it's disabled. So somebody can look on that on our end. And then I want to jump in real quick on a couple of things for Alex, but I check on that is that, I think the good thing about being a domestic manufacturing company is your ability to pivot and respond. And a great example of that is what Contempora did this last year in responding to COVID and how you changed up in that. If I like to talk a little bit how Contempora faced COVID and how you participate in the whole PPE need in this country.
Sure. And that's another benefit that I didn't touch on with us being an ESOP. Since we're 100% employee owned, if an opportunity arises, we can react on it very quickly. If we need to buy equipment, there's just a handful of us make that decision. We don't have to go through a lot of channels to get approvals to buy a piece of equipment, because there's 3 of us going to make the decision and move on it. But what happened last March when COVID hit, we were running, I'd say, 350,000 pounds a week at that time. And within a matter of 2 days, our complete business stopped. We didn't have orders canceled orders, but we had orders put on hold. Nobody knew what was going to happen, and nobody wanted us to ship any fabric. So for the first time in Contempora's history, on that Thursday, we laid off our entire plant. We sent everybody home, told them we had no work for them. So we started, the management started meeting on Friday and trying to figure out what we're going to do and spend. And of course, the need for masks came up. So we met again on Saturday and came up with some game plans and started talking to some people about PPE requirements. And by Monday, we're calling our employees back and saying, you got a job starting Tuesday. We need you at the plant. So we participated with Hanes in their mask program, and we ran mask fabric and then gown fabric. We ran those products up until, I'd say the 4th of July week. Through the end of June, we were making mask and gown fabrics, and that was about all we were producing. We weren't producing any of our traditional products. So that pivot to the PPE is what allowed us to keep employees on the job through some very difficult times.
A couple of things I want to go back, Amy, and I'll kick it back to you. Is I think people need to understand, and we face that challenge too. There's a lot of people that are wanting to get into this industry, this market, the small designers, and we want to cater them, but a lot of times they don't understand. There's a lot happens from that dirt to shirt environment, and each stop along the way is a very in-depth process. And you have if you'll get that cone on again, kind of walk through, Alex, how you set up a machine. It's just not that. You just don't stick out on a machine and push a button and fabric comes out. It kind of describes, we can't go in the plant, what that setup looks like.
Yeah, you know, we talk about this cone. This cone, I don't know the exact weight of it. Let's say it's 6 pounds of yarn. Our knitting machines, it takes 90 of these to krill the machine. That means physically hanging the package on the knitting machine in order to start it up. So if you're 90 of these cones out there, that's the scale that we're running. If you try to produce 100 pounds of fabric, well, you've got 96-pound cones you've got to buy just to put on the knitting machine to get it started. So in a given day, we're consuming 75,000 pounds of yarn a day, something in that neighborhood, if you look at all of our different machines that are running. And the labor involved in that, each one of those cones is hand crilled on the machine. We have a knitting operator that is running the equipment. You got roll handlers, you got inspectors, warehouse guys. So it's touched by every pound of fabric is probably touched by 6 people, 7 people throughout our facility before it's shipped out to the dye houses. Mm-hmm. I don't know, Eric, if that's kind of what you were looking for. Or...
No, that's great. But again, going back to it takes
90 packages.
So what happens when one runs out?
One runs out, the machine stops. So you've got to krill it. And most of our machinery today, I say there's 90 packages. It's actually 180 because they krill in 90 to run off of, and then they put another package beside of it so that the yarn, when it runs out, will transfer onto the other package. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera, but there is a tail hanging down from this package, and that tail is tied to the top of the next package so that it'll transfer over for us. So our knitters are constantly rekrilling the machine, adding packages of yarn so that it doesn't stop. It just keeps running.
One last thing I got, Amy, then I'll kick it back to you. This is more of a compliment, I would say, Alex, and not a question. Because for us, sustainability is about people and planet. Yes. And be accountable for both of those. Not only do we support domestic manufacturing like yourself and being the first B Corp certified company in North Carolina, but what really attracted us and sets you kind of apart because there's other companies in this, in the Carolinas that is your ESOP.
Mhm.
So that means that you have a system set up in place that when your success and profits aren't concentrated to a few group of people, it's shared with everyone.
That's correct.
And that's so important for us, for our partners, not only in transparency, but have that, sharing the wealth. And I think it's so important. Again, I compliment you and I commend you because ESOPs, something we looked at, you have to be a sizable company to make it work. It doesn't work for kids size small, something we looked at. But again, taking that, I guess what question from that, I should say, what got you down the path of becoming, because that is an unusual thing, especially a business this size, especially in this part of the country. So how did you get to be an ESOP?
Well, it goes back many years ago. The founder of Contempora Fabrics, it was always his wish that the employees owned the company. Tragically, he developed cancer and passed away at an early age. So before he passed, he set up that I think it was 49%. Don't quote me on the percentage. I think it was 49% of the company would be converted into the ESOP for the employees. He wanted to take care of his employees. After his passing, his wife approached the company and said, I know nothing about running a knit plant. Would you consider buying out my share of the company? And so the company did. The company took out some loans and bought her shares of the stock out, and at that point become a 100% ESOP company. And it's worked extremely well. As I said, I can tell you right now, in the past 2 months, we've had 2 40-year employees and a 35-year employee that have retired, and they've gotten their nest egg. And if you've been with us 35, 40 years, it's a substantial nest egg. And so just to know they're taken care of now, that's fabulous.
All right. Well, again, I compliment and congratulate you, and we're so honored to have you part of our supply chain because it is that people that to us is just as important as the plant. Thank you for taking care of plants, take care of people. So I think we got our chat back working, Amy, so I'm gonna kick it back to you
Yeah.
but thank you.
All right. Well, I'll grab a question off of this. So Kelly Pepper is asking, what is a typical minimum order size?
We sell in die lot increments. So if it's a very heavyweight fabric, it could be as little as 800 or 900 yards. If it's a super lightweight fabric, like a liner type fabric, it could be 2,000 yards. I'd say average is probably 1,200 yards per color.
All right. Let's see. David Petrie, have you completed the HIG Index Facility Environmental Module? If so, how do you compare with the industry-wide benchmarks, and how do you use the HIG to help drive improvements?
We have not done the HIG index. I'm familiar with it. We do have one large brand that is participating in that, and I'm sure at some time in the near future, we will go through that. Right now, with what transpired in 2020 with COVID and the interruptions we had throughout our facility, we've really just been focused on getting back on track and producing great product and servicing our customers. But I see that coming up probably within the next year.
Mm-hmm.
And to add to that, Alex, and I think, we believe in certifications. Again, we're a B Corp certified, HIGO, but the other thing and what we're doing today is transparency.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking to our supply chain, our customers, and I should ask, it's okay, but we would like to drop your contact information into the chat so that people can follow back up.
Sure.
There's just, again, I think, I'm not trying to diminish certification. They have their place, but to me, I think transparency of knowing who you are, where you are, and people can come see you is just important as a certification. So, we want to make that information available. So if there's something that comes up later, they know how to get in touch with you.
Sure. Yeah. As a matter of fact, over the past several years, we've participated in the Carolina Mill Tour in conjunction with AAPN, one of the associations we're members of. And that's a week-long event where brands and retailers can send a representative or a couple of representatives on a bus tour. And, it includes us as a knitter. It goes down to Dye House. It goes to Parkdale with their yarn spinning operations. So they get to see yarn being made, knitting, dyeing, finishing, thread being made. through the group of companies that are on tour. So, we always welcome that opportunity to tell people what we do and how we do it. And we're completely transparent about what goes on in our facility. But last year, the tour was interrupted. I'm not sure that we'll be able to do it yet this year, but hopefully next year we'll get back to doing the mill tour.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I'd written down too, we haven't talked about, I guess, talking about kind of certifications or accolades, is that you guys were one of the first 10 US mills to sign up to the US Cotton Trust protocol. And just, as a heads up for those who don't know about the group, and two companies from our supply chain are part of this. The membership lets manufacturers prove they are approved supply chain partners for retailers sourcing sustainably grown cotton. So there's one thing that you guys are, one of the many things that you guys are doing, but I don't know if you want to talk about why it was important for you.
Yeah, we're also in the Cotton Leads program as well. When we start talking about sustainability and transparency, that's where the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol, it comes into play in a big way. And it really starts with the farmer itself. I mean, they've got some goals set for through 2025 of reducing water consumption in the growth of cotton. I'm not talking about in the manufacturing process of spinning, knitting, dyeing, or finishing, but actual working with the farmers on minimizing water usage, improving land efficiency, and reducing carbon footprint. And so when we start thinking about the things they were working on, if you look at, and there's a human aspect involved as well. And when you look at the news, you see what's in social media today, the concerns that all of us have about forced labor in some other areas of the world in the cotton production. When we were approached about joining this organization, it just made perfect sense. It kind of aligned with what we were already striving to do. They just had a different platform to promote what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. Oh, hey, Tamika. Let's see. How many diverse cotton suppliers are a part of this ecosystem?
Well, Eric, is that a question you can answer? That's not a question I can answer.
Well, I think explain, because a lot, what we do with the 10K project, and it was interesting, Alex, we were exchanging emails this morning, is, we're involved with, each of the components along the way, acquiring them and paying them and moving them along. Most of the time you're on the side of receiving the yarn in. So like when you receive the yarn in from Parkdale is the one that went out and
that's right.
$40 a cotton farm. You don't have that transparency to that level.
Yeah, we're not buying cotton fiber, we're buying cotton yarn. And there's a handful of suppliers that we're using here in the US for that, Parkdale being a primary cotton supplier for us. So I don't know how many different cotton farmers or cotton gins that Parkdale's using their fiber from. That's something Andy Long, I'm sure, could provide information to. But I know it's a blend of fiber from multiple regions throughout the country, but it's all U.S. fiber.
That's amazing.
It's all U.S. fiber.
Nice thing about when you deal with Parkdale, you're not going to have any Uyghur cotton coming into your facility.
No.
Would you say that's the same thing on the polyester side? Unified is a big player out there. I mean, that's pretty much all done within the process here in the U.S.
Yeah, the 80% of our polyester is produced by Unify. All of our, it's all domestic polyester, but 80% comes out of Unify, and they're here in North Carolina as well.
Mm-hmm. I know, Courtney, I don't know if you can get Tamika's website up. It's called Seed to Shirt. Seed with the number 2 shirt. And I know Tamika's working with Fiber Shed and on the West Coast, kind of setting up different supply chains. So an interesting evolution that's happening over there on the West Coast. But thanks, Courtney. So David Petrie's asking, so beyond cotton, what about hemp, wool, and other fiber sources? And Eric, I'm sure you can talk to this as well.
There's a lot of work being done with hemp fiber here in North Carolina, actually, but in the U.S. we've run some trials with some poly hemp blends and some cotton hemp blends. A lot of the fiber that we've run so far has been European fiber or Asian fiber, because that was what was readily available. But there are groups working hard to commercialize hemp grown right here in North Carolina. And as that happens, we will definitely be transitioning to a local hemp supply. Most of what we've done to date has been, as I said, blended with cotton or blended with poly, and it's been at that 10 to 20% hemp level. Above that, we just haven't had the strength in the yarn that we need to knit the fabric.
Believe it or not, I'm going to put you on, surprise you here, because
Okay.
Jennifer knows this on your staff, and we also have Rob McDaniel to handle procurement. But we'll be announcing here in the probably the end of the month the actual project. It's called Project 2021, and we are already right now spinning one of the first cotton hemp yarns grown and processed in the U.S. And we will be knitting it here at Contempora. And again, it's a very, very small project, just to show people it can be done.
Right.
So hopefully in the next, I would say, 30 to 60 days, we're gonna have some yarn down here, and yarn that
Fantastic.
was sourced from the hemp and cotton here in the U.S. So again, you probably surprised you, but Jennifer's on top of this. Great
Okay.
excited about that. But
Jennifer's on our staff here at Contempora.
she's the one like behind this that makes things happen. So again, we're super excited about that. There'll be a follow-up down the road as we launch Project 2021, but we just want to show it can be done. It's a small project, but like everything, as you know, we don't want to come out just ton and gun in it, because it's a new area for us. We don't know. There might be problems. Great on the spin side. You might have issues with knitting. So I don't want to be choking down your whole machine.
Yeah, there's definitely some challenges with hemp that hopefully we're going to be able to overcome. And most of the challenges are in spinning.
Yeah.
We're working on a few projects right now for some independent brands, and I can't disclose much more detail about them other than say we've done some poly and cotton hemp blends.
And that's why we've been, I guess, kind of not secretive, but we don't know if it's going to work yet. So
Right.
we don't want to announce something and not be able to deliver, but we are working with Cap Yarns to just spin. So that's the key thing, is that if they can spin it, then we feel very confident you can knit it. But we want to make sure we're spinning right now in the next couple of weeks. So let's get through that one. And then we're ready to, I think that's, as you said, that's the biggest hurdle. If it can get through spinning, then that's, hopefully most of the challenges have been addressed.
But overall, to talk about, fibers, I always tell customers to be a domestic manufacturer today, we're kind of like a pharmacy. You come in with a script, we figure out how to fill it. We can't focus and say, we're just going to run 100% cotton. If we did that, we wouldn't be running much fabric. We can't say we're going to run only polyester. So we're running any given time, probably 8 or 9 different fibers in our facility. All of our machines are in isolation rooms. So we can have polyester on this machine and one right beside it on cotton, and we don't have to worry about cross-contamination from lint-fi because they're in an isolation room with their own vacuum system. And so we run lots of different fibers throughout the facility on a daily basis.
So much to learn. There's so much to
Now
learn.
that's so much important for us.
What's that?
Amy, what they, pretty much 99.9% of the fabrics you knit for us are, PFD.
Mhm.
And kind of explain what people PFD is, but I think also why contamination is so important. But maybe explain for people that don't know what that is and what you do for us.
Sure. What Eric's speaking to is prepare for garment dye, PFD. He does garment dyeing in his own operation. And that's something too, you were asking earlier about helping out designers with smaller numbers. It could be that they source prepare for garment dye fabric, and then they can send it to somebody like Eric that can dye them 200 garments in red and 200 garments in blue and 200 garments in green. Instead of buying enough full dye lot of green fabric, they can buy the natural prepare for garment dye. But in garment dyeing, since we're not adding color when we sell the fabric, it's very important that there's no cross contamination in it, because Eric's dyeing atmospherically the cotton, but polyester can't be dyed atmospherically. It requires a different dye stuff, and it has to go under pressure in order to take the dye. So if there's polyester contamination in his cotton fabric when he dyes it, or any other contamination, it can show up as white specks in the fabric where the fiber didn't take the color. So that's the reason, we have isolation rooms throughout our facility with our machines, individual machines in it. It takes up a little more floor space to do that, but it allows us to be very flexible in the product line that we can produce.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's huge. That's a huge part for the dyeing itself. I know I work with a natural dyer, and we do production, and that's like a massive piece if it's not PFD ready and it has those kind of little marks on it. So that's awesome that you guys are have the rooms all isolated like that.
Yeah, that's one of the things, we talk about U.S. cotton fiber and us using cotton product from the U.S. It's mechanically picked. And in a lot of countries where labor is very cheap, they may still be hand picking it. But when they hand pick the fiber, they're putting it into a bag. They drag behind them on the ground, they pick the fiber and stick it in the bag. A lot of times those bags are made out of polypropylene. And if they get polypropylene fiber sheds off of the bag into the cotton fiber, when we knit, dye, and finish it, that polypropylene will not take dye. So that's another advantage over U.S. cotton in it being mechanically picked versus hand-picked fiber from another part of the world.
I didn't know that.
That was a weird thing. I'm going to go back to a question from Catherine. Let's see, how many NC counties have farmers involved with this effort? This is probably an Eric question. What is the approximate acreage of the involved farmers? Which is.
You want to get behind the camera? Are you going to answer? Okay.
Amy will sometime will excuse me. I'll go back.
Okay.
I'm here if you hear me okay. If you're talking about our 10K cotton project, I mean, we just essentially bought 10,000 pounds of cotton from a farmer that grows 3,000 acres. So normally that is not much cotton. But what Alex doesn't know, with that particular farmer we work with, they lost over 70% of their cotton this year. Cotton generally in North Carolina was not good this year because of a late start, heavy rains in the spring. So we were just very lucky. So we're still a spec, I guess, on the even our one cotton farmer we work with. Our hopes and dreams are we want to grow 10K to 100K to 500K to 1,000,000K, because the main thing we're doing here, we're directly negotiating with the farmer with the price at which you get paid. So that is different than what's happened to a typical cotton farmer. Is they got all the investment, they got all the money, but the marketplace dictates the price. And that's what we want to change. Just like Alex, he has a price that he'll be charging us. The marketplace doesn't dictate what he charges. He basically says, this is what I need based on his cost and overhead. We want the farmers to participate in that too. So again, it's a very, very, it's very small. For some people think when you say, God, we're going to go make 15,000 t-shirts, that's a lot of t-shirts, but some brands out there, that's nothing to them. So again, it's a start. It's just like our hemp project. We're going to start something, show success, show we can do it, and then grow it.
Yeah, and if you guys want to watch any of the recordings we've already done from each conversation, we talk about this, all the different challenges for each part of the supply chain for just making really a small amount of t-shirts in the kind of larger scheme of things. But we are all learning. I'm learning so much along the way too, like what Eric was saying, just even the amount of the rainfall, the fiber not being maybe so awesome for spinning or anyways, lots to learn. So Julie Moore has a good question here. So all of my customers are working in organic cotton and often ask me where they can find certified organic cotton fabric produced in the US. Do you knit organic cotton? Do you have one of your isolated machines certified for organics?
We do run our organic cotton as it's available. One thing that you got to understand with organic cotton, there's X amount made each year. And when that fiber supply is depleted, you can't buy it. So occasionally we'll have somebody that comes in, cotton crops normally harvested October, November, December timeframe. We may have organic cotton available in January, but if somebody comes in and wants some in August, there may not be any fiber left. So it's not as readily available as normal cotton, but we do run organic cotton. We have several styles for various customers that use organic, but just I want to make sure everybody understands that if we may have X number of pounds of organic available, and then it may not be available until the next crop is harvested.
And to add to that, Alex, and thanks Julie for that question here. And again, that's why we're having this open, transparent conversation. On the call today is Kelly Pepper from the Texas Organic Cooperative. We have bought cotton from him that you have knit here in the past.
Right.
We had a brand a couple years called American Soul Organic. I think in talking to Kelly, a very good friend, they've had their challenges too with
with cotton, and then with COVID hit, everybody wanted to get their organic cotton here instead of sourcing it from questionable sources overseas that were cheaper. So there's been, and Kelly's out there, he can put his contact information in chat if you can follow him. But from what I understand, they just don't have any cotton this year. So, I mean, it's not available. So we always like to say, again, there's no organic cotton that I'm aware of grown in the Carolinas. And then what I encourage people always to do when they always say, well, again, our 10K project is conventional GMO cotton. And a lot of people say, well, I got to have organic cotton. I says, it's critical to meet the farmer where the farmer is today. If you automatically start dictating where you want this farmer to go and you've done no business with the farmer, we're never going to get anywhere. So we can do anything. The future is wide open as long as we're there with the farmer participating. So again, I'm just glad to have these conversations, not only with our supply chain, with the 50, 60 some people that are on this call today, is again, we want to have this conversation, an open, transparent wake up. It is complicated. There's not one answer that's going to solve all the problems here, but having these conversations like we're sharing with you, is so important. And Julie, thank you so much for your question.
Yeah. I know, I can see there's definitely conversations going on about certifications, and we have our own kind of thoughts on it too. And Eric and I are co-writing an article about certifications and transparency and what we think about it as well. I think it's another one of those big discussions to have and be really open about the benefits of.
Yep.
And yeah.
We talking about the certifications, we have been GOTS certified. So there's a lot of different things out there, a lot of different certifications, and we have a lot of brands that send in their own auditors that they certify our facility for their particular brand.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of different ways people are looking at this.
Right.
Yeah. Again, I'm gonna put Courtney on the spot this time, but part of our 10K project will have the label that will go on the shirt will have a unique QR code. And when you bring out your phone and you open up your camera and you click on that QR code, it's going to take you to a website called solidstate.clothing. And from that, we're going to go in there and talk about the farmer, the general spinner, the knitter, the finisher. And so when we talk about the knitter, you're going to be there. You're going to have your picture, your phone number, your physical address for Contempora, and your email. Because we believe when that shirt goes to the marketplace, we want anybody that got that shirt says, where did this come from? Not just it was made in USA, it was knit at Contempora.
Sure.
And I think I am so, hyped up on transparency. And again, I won't take away from certification, but having connection to you, I mean, you're not going to put your name on something that if you're doing something questionable here or you're questioning other people you're involved with, it's about transparency. So we're super excited that'll be a part of this. The 10K shirt goes out is that anybody gets that shirt can find out everybody along the supply chain. And again, as we said earlier, these Zooms are recorded. So we're marking history. It's not going to go away.
And there's a lot of great companies within that supply chain too.
Exactly. Yes. We're honored to be, that spec in an honored group of companies for sure.
All right. Well, I think, there's like Bailey has just kind of put some, people are having more statements put in the chat. And when we have the recording that we put up, you can kind of read more. And we will also, I just made a note too, to put up some articles that we've been reading about certifications, which we find really interesting just to share. It's definitely like a whole other conversation to start having about traceability, trackability, opportunities to talk with people. And so Alex, Eric, do you have any other questions or things you want to say? I was just going to kind of wrap things up.
I'll rotate Chief out when you're finished with him on the hot seat.
Well, thanks so much, Alex, before you get out of that seat and before Eric steps in, but we appreciate your time and sitting and answering these questions in real time. Yeah.
No, thanks again for allowing me to participate. We appreciate being part of this supply chain.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to turn it over to Eric.
All right.
Thank you.
So as Eric, I'm just going to, this
I'm back.
is making me laugh. So I just want to, I have some reminders before you start throwing me another curveball, you and your, thank goodness I print this out. So different reminders I just want to put out there that we have the 100,000, I keep saying that, 10,000 pounds of cotton project is now available wholesale on our tsdesigns.com site, which Eric at TS Designs can answer all your questions about if you're interested in wholesale t-shirts. And then also check out solidstate.clothing and our 10,000 pounds of cotton project that are on the site. And I put links in our blog posts on our when we send these out so that you can follow and catch up with all the recordings for each part of the journey, as well as our 10,000 pounds of cotton project film that we put together. Thanks, Courtney. She just put the links in the chat so you guys can click on over. And yeah, I mean, Eric, what do you have? I mean, I'm just saying thank you at this point.
Well, I'll do the same thing. Again, thank you, Amy, Courtney, and Rosalinda. Thank you, Alex, for participating today. And thank you for all the people that this is your first conversation with us. We look forward to seeing you next month in Gaffney, South Carolina. We do this, the second Wednesday of the month at noon. So jump back online. But again, for somebody that's been in the industry for 40 years and going through what we did with COVID, we have an opportunity, a once in a lifetime opportunity, to build a more resilient, domestic, transparent apparel supply chain. But it starts with you. It starts with education. It starts with asking those other brands you work with or other clothes that you buy, why aren't you doing it domestically? Why aren't you doing it transparently? We are now going through the situation with Bangladesh a few years ago where an 8-story building should have never been built. 1,000 people died. And damn it, we're doing it again with the Uyghurs in China, using slave labor to pick labor so some brand can have a cheaper t-shirt. It's got to stop. It's got to stop with you. And I think the best way to start is through education. I'm not saying we're perfect. I'm not saying we're doing the only way, but I am saying what we do is transparent. There are no secrets. We need your help to be a better company, to build a better product, and to create more jobs here in the U.S. So again, I want to thank everybody for being on our call today. We look forward to seeing you, as I said, next month in Gaffney, South Carolina. And I think hopefully Courtney's put all our contact information for Alex, if you need my information. Again, we want to be out there for you. We want to learn just like you want to learn. But again, thank you so much for being on this journey for us. Let's work together to build a better domestic apparel supply chain in the U.S. Again, thank y'all so much and have a great afternoon.
Mic drop. All right. Thanks,
We're out of
everybody.
here, aren't we, Amy?
All right.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, guys.